All right, Brett, first thing for you listeners out there, watch the video right now, especially because of Brett's background. Um, Brett, can you give us a lowdown on what we're seeing? Because I'm jealous and impressed at the same time.
This is my sanctuary. It's at the top of the garden in Cold Harbor. So you know what they say about a man and all his equipment and his tools. He's his happiest place. So anyway, so yeah, I've got a desk up here, and if it's not too cold and if it's not too hot, then and I want some peace and quiet, then I come up here.
Okay, it's kind of related because when we talk about you, so we met 5 years ago now, 6 years,
Yeah, it's been
something like
five
that,
years. Yeah,
right? It's been
yeah.
a long time. And so, Brett equals IT, right? Was my like 6 years ago. And when I look at your setup, I'm like, yeah, I could not figure that out for the life of me. And I would need you to come in and handle it all. I'm sure you got some crazy wiring and I'm sure you got lights and cameras and stuff.
Yeah, I got extenders, Wi-Fi extenders and stuff like that. Starlink portable outside. So yeah, so I've got stuff that makes it happen. But yeah, so I can spend time here because otherwise I wouldn't be able to get up here. So I've got one of those desks that moves up and down. I've got a Mac behind me here. So yeah, so I'm pretty much set up and self-sufficient. Yeah.
Well, so I knew you would be. And then, which also dovetails into a bit of what you were telling me before, which is you're helping with probably the most, well, how would we say it? The most consequential, impactful, large change, which is you're literally rewiring the world we live in today. And
Yeah.
so everyone knows about ChatGPT and Claude and everything. They don't know how fragile and hard this world is. And let me just ask you a crazy question as the technical, non-technical idiot. I mean, how fragile is this world? And could I just cut one cord and then all of a sudden the global internet's gone? But so kind of meta question for you, Brett, as the expert
Yeah.
in this, how damn fragile is this world really?
Um, yeah, I think we're involved. You know, we have this workforce of 4,000 engineers in 170 countries. So we're in the trenches when we're installing equipment and fiber and cabling and connecting it all. That's what we're doing. I mean, that's probably about 70 to 80% of our activity at the moment. So we're at the forefront of seeing these large, and I mean, literally, we're talking 7, 8, 9 football fields worth of data centers. That's how big they are. They've got halls of equipment going in. So we're providing the foot soldiers that go in and do all of the hard work to do that. But doesn't just stop there. It obviously um, chats, AI, Claude, whatever you want to call it, lands up on your phones, lands up on your desktops. It's got to get there. There's a huge amount of data being created everywhere. So not only have you got an exponential cyber threat that's affecting businesses. So we've been involved in putting engineers on site for a number of big chains, so supermarket chains, and where they've had attacks. And these breaches have been done through AI. So literally taking 45 seconds to get into an infrastructure. So that's why, when you see the reality is when you see Claude, and we don't have access to 5 now because that's been taken away. I think it's only in the US. The reason is because we can actually, my devs have tested the vulnerability of certain applications using Claude, and they found holes, so they can get into infrastructure using Claude. So you can understand that's a risk. On the data center side, everything's about the setup, about failover, about you spoke about, I mean, it's pretty resilient nowadays. However, one of these major brands that we've done a cyber intervention on, we've had cyber engineers on sorting out this ransomware attack. They've gone and looked at the infrastructure and said that it won't last 6 months because of failover, and we're talking billions and billions and billions of pounds. There is cybercrime, the ability to knock down organizations, affect revenue, using AI is a major threat. And literally, never mind the wars that are going on. Imagine the ability to knock down New York for a day. I mean, there was that power. Didn't you have a power surge not so long ago where half of New York was down? Who knows? Could be that. Yeah, and that's not what's been spoken a lot about, but we know it's there, and that's what's potentially coming down Route One. But that's the fragility of it. It's multiple angles that we could be affected
Yeah.
by what's going on globally.
And I would add, before, so after I say this, we'll get into sort of your background and giving us the full update on the company. But one of the aspects of fragility that is, to me, is one of the toughest things as an executive is being able to understand what you control and what you can't. And so one aspect of this is, especially, talking purely here from a US centric perspective, is we're having this massive data center political war where certain states are doing certain things. Now, it seems, if you think it's as simple as, oh, we want or we don't want a data center, you're totally not understanding all of the red tape that is going to be around contracting, employment type laws, which you might think, okay, we have a data center, but then what you don't realize is because of all the regulation, this is the most fragile data center compared to the way different states have other things. So there's so many intertwined things that you just need the right partner. I'll give you one quick example. So I grew up in Massachusetts,
Yep.
and where we have one of these parks, and we celebrate very proudly that we didn't allow, I forget what type of company, like one of those Standard Oils, we didn't allow it, right? And it's like, aha, yes, like good for us, yada yada yada. Um, what are the long-term implications of that? And if you do set up a data center in a state like Massachusetts, ooh, do you have all the whatever T's crossed and I's dotted and whatever?
Yeah.
But so, listeners out there, we got a very technical but fun conversation. And so, Brett,
Yeah.
let's start with just your background. So, like, I know your background, but give us a lowdown of how in the world you got to
Yeah.
ITARMI, and then we'll get into the company and how
Um,
it's been.
yeah. So and hopefully you can pick this up. I'm South African. I do get confused with being Australian every now and again, but it's normally if I'm behaving badly, that's when I say I'm Australian. So I come from an English part of South Africa called Nottingham Road, which is in the Natal Midlands. So it's on the east coast of South Africa. So anyone that surfs would know that Pietermaritzburg or Durban specifically is where all the surfers come from. And was a farm boy, so I grew up on a farm, so completely different to what I'm doing now. Racehorse stud, in actual fact, and then trained racehorses with my dad until I was about 27, 28, then came over to the UK. Didn't know what I was going to do. Bizarrely. That's what you call a true pivot, Matthew.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yep. From cowboy to IT.
Yeah. Yeah. Dairy cattle and horses. Anyway, so yeah, so I think came to London and really didn't know what I was going to do. I was either get into banking or I was going to get into technology or IT, and got into sales and IT. And it's funny because my boss, who's on the board for Insight, which is that big American organization in the US, the big VAR reseller, I think they're number 2 in the world. Behind CDW, they're the second largest. And he's on their board, and he gave me the job. He gave me the gap to get into IT, and he stayed 2 nights here not so long ago. And we were laughing because my criteria was when HR walked out the room, he said, "Can you play rugby?" And I said, "Do I look like I can play rugby?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "You definitely look like you're a front row forward." And I said, "Yeah, I am a front row forward." He said, "What side?" I said, "No, I'm too small to be on the tight head. I'm a loose head." He said, "Can you play this weekend?" And I said to him, "Yeah, I can play this weekend." He says, "You've got the job." But that's all I needed. I needed the gap. And then I got into selling, and which I found my vocation. I love sales. I love vision. I love sales. I love using technology to create that vision and empower it and accelerate it. And yeah, and an interesting time where, how do we take our best people and 10x them and optimize and improve work-life balance, because that's important. So where do we? And I found that with AI, I found my work-life balance is completely improved because I've been smart at applying the technology at the right time and the right place for the right reasons. And also because maybe I suffer a bit from dyslexia and and definitely attention disorder. I am able to actually um, communicate things. I can put this crazy mind into something, and it can come up with my solution of the way they organize it, and which has been phenomenal for me because there's so much going on that I don't really necessarily know how to structure things properly, and that's what AI has done for me. And then on the other side, it's exploded our business. We've got people all around the world that are great at doing what they're doing. We're exposing them to the great brands, and they're going out and delivering. And that's the nuts and bolts of what's been going on and where I'm from.
Hellas, so from dairy farmer to, and I actually do a quick story. So when I started at Microsoft, um, I was building a product, and
Yeah,
obviously you get into a large company and it's very political. And so there was someone who was either 2 or 3 levels above me, but basically I needed their sign off. And so I would like walk by his office, once a week to try to get some intel. And I noticed, I was like, I see some like running related, apparel. So one day, I think I like wore my, bought some running shoes or something, like the Hokas at the time, and walked by and was like, "Oh, did you run that marathon?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." Like, "Do you run?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." I didn't run, right? And he was like, "Well, if you want to ever run to work, then shoot me a text and I'll give you my address." So sure enough, I totally lied, and I had not been running, and I had to run 15 miles just to be able to get the intel. So similar to you, we do some crazy things,
that's
and whether
smart.
it's
Yeah,
we just got to,
yeah,
we got to do, man. But
yeah.
so when we talk about the company, I want you to give us a full lowdown of, the company, when it was started, what you do. And I also think one thing I want to put a plug in for later is this: we're kind of seeing it's everything, to me at least, everything has changed in the last 12 months. And one of the biggest changes is, as a founder and entrepreneur, it used to be as easy as, oh, we're building a tech company. And now that's kind of a bad word, and someone say
Yeah,
SaaS is dead and yada yada yada. So we'll
that's collapsed. Yeah,
right. So we'll talk about that because you are the AI plus, plus human orchestrator.
yeah.
But so give us a pitch. Tell us all about the company.
Okay, so ITARMI is an organization that fundamentally started by finding talent in all around the world to deliver technology. So mainly infrastructure, so installs, migrations, upgrades, data centers, offices, also support users in all those offices. The idea came from Uber when I was in a meeting in Black Rock, New York, and your lovely city, Matthew, and uh, was in a cab ride and thought, well, why can't we do the same for IT engineers around the world? So I came back. I was working for CDW, another great American organization, and saw the gaps. This billion-dollar organization couldn't deliver in all these locations because they didn't have the model, didn't have the people. So thought about building a technology, a platform with apps attached like Uber, and then sold people's time to invest in building the technology. So that's what I've been doing for the last 9 years. And we deliver into 170 countries with around about 4,000 engineers. And we are in the channel. So we support the CDWs, the Insights, the AT&Ts, the NCRs, for bench, plus also in any areas where they don't have the people. So we supplement those big organizations. So we have and operate like an enterprise organization. Now, the interesting thing is that when you look at any of them, DoorDash, Uber, Deliveroo, any of these large organizations, Airbnb, they own the market because of the volume of capability that they don't pay for. And it was the same business model that I thought of. Tech is a bit different because it's a bit more challenging and a bit more technical, and you've got to have much more compliance because you're actually building on. So it's not just like find that guy and then match them. You've got to have the right teams to manage that. So we've got service delivery, project management, the technology. So the engineers are connected, and then what then happens is we then use the technology to manage compliance, delivery, accountability, and cost. So we can build variable, and it's all done through an app. So you can start, stop, get paid, and then the statements come up. Now, the left the field of this, what we thought was, well, we really are being horrible to the companies that have great engineers themselves. So we've then use the technology that organizations can then start to do what ITARMI's done. So even our competitors are starting to take our technology and then build with that same, the internal engineers, freelancers, independent consultants, or other companies. And then we've got a royalty utilization based model with admin fees for the platform, which means that we've kept that as low as possible. And it's all about scale. How do you scale your business? How do you get more engineers out there? How do we grow your business? And we try and keep the costs as low as possible in the software so that they always know what they're going to pay for. So when those peaks and troughs happen, which does happen, projects, whatever, you don't pay over the odds. You don't pay per license seat. You don't pay for that. So that's what we've done. And then we've obviously, I think we worked out that we've done 180,000 engineering visits through our technology in the 7 years that we've had it. We've been building it. So we've been dog fooding. We've been using our own technology to test it, APIs into ServiceNow and all these other products. It's completely agile when we're building it, and that's the models. We empower organizations to scale and win business, and we empower them through bringing on a great capability through the engineering as well. So we find that talent around the world, and then we water and feed them. And we expose them to the great brands which our customers own: the Amazons, the Nikes, the Louis Vuittons, the Levi's, the big banking institutions. We give them exposure, so they're building on their resumes or their CVs on a continual basis. And that's ITARMI. Okay.
Let's dive deep into the technology, because I want to talk about when we say the technology powering this. Like, what does that really mean? And context. So in 2012, I that's when I kind of got my eyes open to freelancing independent consulting.
Yeah.
Right. So that's when for me, and mind you, when I did it, it just felt normal. And literally, I was working on 2-week contracts. I was working directly with the people that needed it, and it was very outcome based. So it was, hey, I'm going to give you this in 2 weeks. If I do, it's probably going to renew. If I don't, it's probably not. And then I jumped into traditional employment, specifically in a Big Four type consulting environment, and I was mind blown at how archaic it felt to me. And archaic, not just because I had the paper resume, but mostly because I was like, you guys don't know if I'm actually good or not. And I'll never forget being like, hey, how do I get promoted? Right. Because I remember there was this one guy, and they were like, ooh, he was the fastest to promotion. And I was like, how'd that happen? And they were like, well, his boss quit. I was like, oh, so this isn't like based off his performance. This is purely based off tenure and whatever. So in 2012 is when my eyes popped, right? And then when I was trying to describe this to others, because one of the hardest parts that I encounter too is people will say like, well, freelance, right? And what is different about it? What is unique? And my answer is like, well, nothing really. It's just a word. And if anything, that one word is not even close to encapsulating what we're really talking about, which is a technology transformation at the
Yeah.
core of meritocracy and who you are and what your career, whatever.
Your
So
individual. Yeah. Yeah.
right. So to me, I come from a place of that of, oh my God, like the whatever we call this, we call it flexible talent in the human cloud, but it's a technology transformation related to talent that enables both sides to just be way better and have a better, life and
Yeah.
career and you name it. But so for you, what technology are we talking about? Give us the
Yeah.
brain.
So I think the best way to describe it is it's like if you think about independent consultants, freelancers, whatever you want to call them, it's almost like a dirty word. Like you can't trust them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, hang on. These people have actually, and I'll get onto the technology in a second because it rounds it all off. That's what it does. Um, so if you look at like, how do you know that a person's like, if he's actually independent, he's responsible in driving, doing his own tax, delivering up because he's everything is about outcome. Because if he doesn't deliver on outcome, he doesn't get the next job. There's much more at stake than getting in a job, and they have to. Customer services has to be a top priority. Outcome has to be number one, and and also they've got extra pressure because they've got to currently they've got to look for extra work all the time. So, I think that for me was enough, and the amount of even the other day, like one in every two conversations was about trusting a freelancer, independent contractor when I first started this business. I have had one in 4 months now.
That's good. That's incredible, actually.
The improvement in the
Yeah.
attitude towards freelancers, and that's because if you look at us, and it's a lot to do with the time in the saddle, right? So 99% delivery, over 99% delivery on outcome and SLA. Your business isn't just about the freelancers, independents, about the people in your business. So how good are they and what are they delivering on? Because technology doesn't run itself. They want you to, but it's never going to just do that. You've got to have the culture and the delivery behind it. So the technology and our technology, a SaaS platform that, well, I'm changing it because SaaS collapsed to orchestration platform.
Hi, Mr.
Orchestration
Sales.
platform, yeah, orchestration platform is about delivering outcome. And there's aspects within that technology, the geolocation, the sign-offs, that give you the gates that prove that outcome has been completed and gives the engineer accountability and the proof that they've actually delivered on that work. And there can be nothing. And when they get physical sign-off on a work, it gives us all the ammunition we need to back them up if there's ever an escalation and make sure. So we have like when we get an escalation and straight away they blame the engineers. I go, well, let's just do the DD. Let's do root cause analysis. Let's make sure, because we've seen this all the time, 9 times out of 10, it's not the individual. It's either because of bad communication or something else has gone on. So yeah, we do get them every now and again. You can't not when you've got so many people delivering for you. But the technology is about that. And then the last thing that it does is makes them feel like they belong to a system, to a process, to a vision. And that's the most important thing. So ITARMI is the business. They belong to an army of people. They belong to they with their brothers, their sisters. They feel like they're in an organization, but with the freedom to make their own decisions. And so they belong to a culture, and then also the freedoms and decisions to do what they want with their lives. And hopefully we can give them enough work that is enough. I had an email come through yesterday. One of our independents here that works in the city London for us, and he does work for us. And he said, "Pete, guys, on a Friday, I'm not going to be able to accept any more assignments because I'm working at this charity on a Friday." Awesome.
Exactly what
You
you want.
see,
It's
that's
exactly.
exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So we want to give people freedom of choice. We want to expose them to the great brands of this world. And we want to give organizations options and prove that the model really works. And if I can get our competitors, if I can get other companies to believe in the same thing, and they're using the technology to deliver outcome, then they will believe in it, which means that we expand on the vision of actually there, and you will get a better result if you've got a happy engineer that loves what he's doing and is making a decent living and has a lifestyle that's not 9 to 5, that is flexible, that is agile. You will get better service. It cannot not work if they're happy enough and they're not under financial stress. So that's how it plays a part, and that's how it works effectively.
I want to emphasize the number 4,000. So you said 4,000 engineers, right? Okay. You could easily have probably 40 million if you wanted to. So, and this is one of the learnings of this industry is
Yeah,
probably up until what, last year, Brett, people could
yeah.
come and say, look, we're going to have the largest marketplace. And then people realized that's actually totally the inverse of what leads to good quality. So 4,000 is not because, that's as much as you could get. It's probably because you're having to bat away a lot of
Well,
engineers.
yeah. So we don't take on engineers. We do have people joining on an adult basis, but it's we want them to work. We want them to rather grow as your requirements are happening. What we're seeing is the engineering pool is growing astronomically because of the number of partners that have taken on our platform. So I think when I looked yesterday, of the 4,000 engineers that are available, 2,700 are our own engineers, and 1,300 are our partners.
or more
So you
so.
see
Yeah.
what's happening is that the model is shifting, and what's happening is they are now starting to build their own capability, which is what I want. I want utilization, because if they can utilize an engineer, then he's not going to end up having to be stressed or moving into a position that he doesn't have to. And that means that, so I'm encouraging, utilization, because that means that we're gonna end up with the result that we need. Okay.
Which tell me about the composition. So I assume are there internal employees? Are there all freelancers, all independent contractors? Yeah, composition.
There are going to be some organizations that have niche capabilities like cyber, where they've got full-time employees that have put onto the platform, and they want to increase the utilization as engineers, but it's a small minority. But what they're doing is they're bringing on their own contractors themselves, and then there's our freelancer contractors that are global. So what you might find is, like, you might find 3 or 4 engineers that start a business, and they go, "Oh, we can expand this. We get 10 or 15," and then they don't have the marketing, they don't have but they've got the technical expertise, and then they take the platform, and then they go, "Wow, what a great idea! I can literally the infrastructure's there. All they've got to do is bring great people," and that's the that's what we're doing. That's why, we talk about the SaaS collapse and everything. Our moat are our people. It's not the platform. Platform is great. It's all, but you can build platforms. Go and onboard 4,000 engineers. Go through the due diligence, the background checks, the validation, the delivery of culture. That take you years and years and years and years and years. So that's our moat and that's why we're so focused on people, is because we know that if you've got good people, then your business will always grow.
Tell me about big wins in the past 2 years, but then also where you see this going. Because I know we kind of started this episode talking about data centers and where this is going, and you mentioned a really interesting stat to me around like the percentage of what they're actually doing and laying the pipes, right? Which is
Yeah.
crazy to me and so easy
Yeah,
to prevent.
electricians, plumbers, IT technicians, people that are doing the physical installs. So I think the rate of change, like I said, I think that anything that is admin orientated is under threat from AI, and we know that. Like, we've seen the layoffs, right? So the ability to automate and optimize using agentic agents and all of that and workflows. What's not under threat is the physical installation. So cabling, racking and stacking, um, setting up a laptop, those sorts of things are not under threat. Um, and what's happened is that the technology, the amount of data that's been created through this explosion, and the throughput needed. You need more data to go through fiber. You've got to lay down more fiber. You've got to have new network switches that can handle the throughput. GPUs, you've seen them. Seen what's happening with NVIDIA and this GPUs getting more powerful, smaller, all of that sort of stuff. So there's a continual evolution of change from a technology, from a hardware perspective, to cater. Now, normally, an organization that's got good CapEx will look to a 3 to 5 year program to swap out technology to remain competitive, to remain relevant, and to carry on growing. And what's happening is, in some cases, a lot of cases, it's down to 18 months. So you've got the same cycle kicking in. And what's happening is that those same people are coming in to then replace that stuff. And that'll carry on for the next 10 to 15 years. Give it a 10-year horizon, but there is a huge amount of that going on at the moment, where that capability is needed, and we need people. You need people to go and do this, and that's where we sit. And yeah, I'm in large. We're talking. I mentioned a data center in Malaysia with, like, it's 8 or 9 football fields, 400 engineers a day on site. That's the sort of thing that's going on, and that's 24/7. So they've got shift work. So you've more like got 1,200 engineers on site a day.
And
So
can I ask the
yeah,
dumbest question? So, I mean, really, really simple to me. You need 400 people a day
yeah,
to do this pretty hard work. Shouldn't they all have a profile that you're actually tracking what they did, how good they are, if they
yeah.
showed up,
You need
didn't
data.
like like not to make it basic, but like
Just to manage and control that. So imagine
Exactly.
an app, so facial recognition, geofencing, stuff where people can when they, it starts and stops. So all of the compliance around having the right person on site, which is key, knowing where they are, the organizational capability, and then when they have RAMs, scopes of work uploaded, the technology that they're deploying. So is it NVIDIA? Is it Dell? Is it HP? And all of that builds data and a resume for them when they go to their next job. So what you can use is like for us, we've got our own MCP server being created. It's actually done, but you can use Claude, Chat, any of them, and you can hook in, and then you can then pull data like that. Like a customer can go, boom, what have you done, and what's the team look like, and it can go 30 engineers and level one cablers. This is the cabling they use. This is what the scope of the work was. Obviously you've got to make sure that you get just tied. You can't give them personal data and stuff like that, but you can really with AI be smart about exposing the capability of those individuals and then giving a resume that some like reviews, stuff like that, attendance, that makes a lot of sense to organizations that want to use someone like that
Which this this goes back to the question of like, is SaaS dead with that whole rabbit hole? To me, I think one of the biggest impacts is every app and product now has to be headless, meaning that the data itself is the value, not
Yep,
necessarily
you
the
are
inter
spot on. Absolutely
which
spot
is which is totally different. But with that said, you can't necessarily skip. And so I think partly what this means is if you're building a SaaS, like if you're a founder and you're going and you're building a software company today, you're probably screwed. But if you're building off a 5 to 10 year tenured application, you're sitting pretty because you are the source. You have the infrastructure. Like you're a talent business, right?
on.
So
Real
so the
orchestration layer.
yeah, the information layer, right? So it's like, and we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
God you
Well,
survived the
I
flop.
well, I was a bit worried about our roadmap with the technology because I'm always thinking, what's the next thing? Where can we take this that really adds value to our customers and also the engineers? Because you've got two sides, right? And to be honest, like when this whole AI thing was kicking off, I've been consumed by it. I've built my own agents. I've done stuff already. I vibe code. I'm doing stuff that I never thought I'd be able to do because I was just not intelligent enough. And then also, it's really filled a gap. and but what it's done is it's given me 10 years of roadmap. Like, and that is the most exciting thing because there is not like with our business. I know that everything is possible, and that's exciting because even the ability to monetize our data from an access perspective, because we've got all this information of what we've deployed for these great brands. Now we can monetize tokens. We can do all sorts of stuff like that. So, yeah, watch your space. There's some interesting stuff coming out. Just had a technology meeting this morning, and I was proper fired up after our head of technology sort of gave a presentation on what we're going to be doing. Yeah, and yeah, he knows our thing. He constantly is on the ball.
And I'll give one last thing to mention to listeners in a story, an embarrassing story about us, but it's going to validate why you need a platform and not
Yeah,
just going and work with individuals directly.
yeah,
So for us, we had to refactor our application. Now, like I've always been a PM, right? I started in Silicon
yeah,
Valley, so I'm not like
yeah,
totally non-technical, but I'm pretty much an idiot when it comes to the actual deep tech. So we're refactoring. We go with individuals rather than platforms because at this time there was no platform specialized in AI, right?
yeah,
So it's like, okay, we want to leverage this. Long story short, in 1 month we created so much slop that it took like 3 months of our own team to go and undo everything they did. But if we had a platform like you that we could say, all right, there's actually a 92% success criteria, and Brett is going to let me know, and ITARMI is going to let me know within the first milestone that we're off course, we would have avoided months of tech debt and months of crap. And so there's a number of questions we guys like, oh, well, why don't we do it ourselves? And I'll bring up one thing that you mentioned, Brett, that I'm like, ooh, when you mentioned the facial recognition, the geospacing, all these things, where my head goes is all these companies are debating right now between build, buy, and borrowing, right?
Yeah.
And the build does look attractive, but the technology that you're talking about, good luck if you're an employer trying to roll out these geofencing, all these things. It's going to be a terrible PR nightmare about all this, like Big Brother or whatever it is. The difference with you is these individuals are opting in and they have the choice and the control, and they're not forced to do what the employer says. The biggest difference in the world, and
Yeah.
holy crap, no
Yeah.
employer should be building what you're building. They should all just be using you. So, with that said, most important question, Brett, where can our listeners find you? And what's the one thing you want them to do right now?
Yeah, so ITARMI.com. If you click on there, there's forms you can fill out on the platform if you want a demo on the platform tab, or if you just want us to contact you, there's also a contact button where you can contact us, and it'll come straight through to our sales teams or anyone linked to that capability. Please follow me on LinkedIn, Brett Riley. You'll find me there, ITARMI. And then, yeah, reach out to me, DM me on LinkedIn. We do have TikTok channels, we have Instagram channels, we have all of that. So I've been messing around a bit with TikTok lately, which has been interesting. But yeah, that's where you can find us.
Are you going to clod yourself into a TikTok influencer?
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine that? One question I've got for you, Matthew, and if you can
Yes.
get this right, behind you is an antelope, some antelope horns. You can tell me what that antelope is. The next time I see you, I will buy you a meal and drinks the whole night.
Just a meal, Brett. Do you know how tough that question is? Especially because my
you,
mother-in-law
you
got
know,
it for me
you
as
know
a
what
gift.
that antelope is.
Hold up. I'm going to look. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't even say it. Um, can I guess in Antwerp?
No, it's called a kudu.
How would I know that, Brett? How my how did my American ass
I
in it?
think it is. I think I'm right. I looked at the shape. I looked at the twirls, and if you put KUDU, it's a Southern African or it's an African antelope, famous for its
That
horns.
is
Have a look. There we go.
so. You know what I'm gonna do? Actually, here, no, I'll ask you. Okay, I'm gonna throw it back at you. Do you know who that is? If you answer this, then I will buy you
Oh, I can't
three
actually. I
three
can't.
Hawker Center meals.
I'm trying to zoom in. I can't see the face
Can you
really.
zoom in?
No,
And
it's
see if
still.
there's
I
any
still
others
can't
that
pick
you
that
should
up.
know. No, just this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it cancels out because that's Lee Kuan Yew.
That's Warren. Isn't it Warren Buffett?
No, it's not Warren Buffett. He's a lot better than Warren
It's
Buffett.
not going to be Winston Churchill, is it?
No, it's not Winston
No, I
Churchill.
can't
That
see.
is.
I can only see someone bald. That's it, really. I can't
We're,
see.
we're talking the other end of the world. We're talking Lee Kuan Yew. So you send me, what'd you call it?
Uh,
The cooter, and I'll send you that.
very good. Very good. Yeah. Excellent.
All right, man. Brett,
Okay.
thanks for hopping on, man.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks, Matthew.